Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, it's the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 913. Not unlucky for anybody. For the 5th of April 2026, Richard Saunders coming to you from Sydney, Australia, planet Earth. And I happened just yesterday to see pictures of the planet Earth as taken by the astronauts hurtling towards the moon on the Artemis 2. Now, it's been very exciting to watch all that happening, to watch the launch, to watch them bouncing around and see those wonderful pictures of the Earth and the moon from space. And if I'm not mistaken, by the time the next episode of the Skeptic Zone comes out, they should have returned to Earth. It's particularly interesting, as I think I said in the last episode, to see the reaction from the Flat Earth Brigade and the Space is a Fantasy Brigade. And I heard somebody just today on one of these channels saying that the planet Mars is a fiction. Well, you know what? Enjoy your time while you have it. Over the next years, the next decades, that will all be fading into history. Well, we hope anyway. With more and more missions to the moon and, who knows, further afield, the era of the flat earthers will be just that, an era, a funny part of history that sometimes people will remember. But let's turn our gaze towards the Earth and see what's coming up in this week's episode of the Skeptic Zone. You can count on Adrienne. Adrienne is going to be talking about the common cold with author David Miles. Now, Adrienne was recently in London. She caught up with David, and they chat about his latest book, Sneeze, The History and Science of the Common Cold. Myths and other interesting little facts about having a cold. I haven't had a cold for a long time. That's good. I hate having a cold. I'm sure you don't enjoy it either. Find out more with Adrienne Hill. Following that, we head to Sydney, Skeptics in the Pub, where I'm joined by Tim Mendham, Lara Benham, Annie McCubbin, Kate Thomas, and a friend of ours, Gary from Thailand, and he's going to be telling us about his hopes to start up a Skeptics in the Pub in Thailand. Can you imagine the good food they'd have there at Skeptics in the Pub? It's worth the trip just for the food, I think. Anyway, hear us have a chat about all sorts of things, including the Artemis 2 and a mysterious bottle of psychic spray. I kid you not. That's all coming up. And to round off the show, we're going to be looking at a topic inspired by my talk at Skeptics in the Pub, which was all about mind, body, spirit, mind, body, wallet. And I happened to mention in that talk that years ago, I paid my $30 and had an iridology test, or reading at Mind Body Wallet. And I talk about that in the Trove segment, as well as looking at other bits and pieces from newspapers in the United States about iridology, the quackery of diagnosing somebody by looking at the iris. And helping me this week is Kat McLeod from Edmonton in Canada. Now, I mentioned on the last episode that the Noticon convention coming up in July, that we would have available scholarships. And those scholarships are now ready for secondary or tertiary students to apply. If you go to skeptics.com.au, right on the homepage there's a link to the scholarships. And the page says, calling all secondary and tertiary students, Australian Skeptics and the Skeptics Guide to the Universe bring you Noticon plus Skepticon 2026 in Sydney from the 23rd to the 25th of July. We would love to see as many students there as possible, and to that end, we are delighted to offer a range of scholarships for students who are able to attend. Scholarships available. There are 5 full scholarships valued at $350 and 20 partial scholarships valued at $200. To apply, you must be a current student in a secondary or tertiary institution and be able to attend the event. Use the form embedded on the page and tell us in 200 words or less why you would like to attend Noticon plus Skepticon 2026. Scholarships cover Noticon and Skepticon 2026 ticket price or part thereof. Winners must cover travel and accommodation at their own expense. And these scholarships are provided by the Trainor Foundation to promote the development of critical thinking skills in young people. So there you go. If you know a student, a secondary or tertiary student, who can make the Noticon in July, direct them to skeptics.com.au and they can enter and see if they can get a full scholarship or a partial scholarship. Looking forward to that event very much. Now, before we get into the show, some other news. Those people in Australia, if you tune into Australian Story on ABC television on Monday night, you'll see a story about the Westall UFO event, and that includes comments by yours truly. I don't know how they're going to edit that up. I don't know what I'll end up saying exactly, because I said many things in the interview. We'll see. Have a look for that. Also, if you head to the Wikipedia page about Westall UFO, you'll see a section there which talks about last week's episode of the Skeptic Zone, where I talk about false memory or corrupted memory or memory contamination. A big shout out to all my friends who are just taking a little break at the moment, getting away, a little respite from what can be a stressful job. And I understand doing things like, parent-teacher nights can be somewhat stressful. Well, that's enough for me at the moment. It's time for me to run downstairs and think about Thai food. I don't think I have any. Maybe I'll just mix up some peanut butter and rice. Okay, while I do that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. You can count on Adrienne with Adrienne Hill.
Hello everyone, this is Adrienne Hill coming to you from a very interesting location in London. It's actually really beautiful, and I have a very special guest with me, and I last chatted with him on episode number 845 in December of 2024. Seems like such a long time ago, and it's really great to finally meet you in person, David Miles.
That's very good to meet you too.
And can you tell us where we're sitting right now?
We're sitting in St Dunstan in the east, which is a park made out of a church that was bombed out during the Blitz and is now a very quiet little park in a very noisy part of London.
Yeah, much quieter here. You could just feel everybody's just relaxing and enjoying the bubbling fountain that's here instead of the noise of traffic. David, I interviewed you last about your book, How Vaccines Work, the science and history behind every question you've wanted to ask. And can you give us a little bit about your background and why you wrote that book?
Well, my background's in infectious disease immunology, and I spent about 10 years in various parts of Africa researching that, and then came back to Britain and realised that there are certain areas where there's just a lot of confusion about infectious diseases in general. So I started by tackling vaccines with that first book. And of course, vaccines are how we prime the immune system to protect us against infectious diseases. And that got me thinking about, what other areas are there where my research background or my areas of knowledge could fill in these points of confusion, and lit on the subject of the common cold, because, of course, it's something we're very familiar with. And if you mention colds in the bus stop queue, there'll be no shortage of people telling you how to avoid them or how to treat them. So I wanted to take a deep dive into the science of colds and see what that tells us about how many of that bus stop wisdom really works.
Yeah, and I just got a copy from David. He signed it for me, and I love the title. And it's called Sneeze, The History and Science of the Common Cold. What a great title.
Thank you. Yes.
I haven't had a chance to read this one yet, but I did a quick look at the table of contents, and it looks really intriguing. And like your book about vaccines, you've written it for the everyday person, correct?
Yes, that's right. You shouldn't need any background in the area to read and understand the book. And hopefully enjoy the book.
Yeah, and one of the chapters that caught my eye right away is, when did the first person catch the first cold? Can you actually determine that?
No. What we can say is there have been colds around for at least 30,000 years, because there were a couple of milk teeth, baby teeth, were recovered from permafrost in the Arctic Circle, which had the DNA of cold viruses in them. But it's actually not quite that simple, because we also know that most cold viruses could not have existed that far back, because most cold viruses are only infectious for a few days, which means that they need large interconnected communities to sustain themselves, and those communities didn't exist 30,000 years ago. They couldn't have existed until somebody came up with the idea of getting food from farmed animals and plants instead of hunting and gathering, which, well, the shift from hunting and gathering as the main source of food to farming was between 10 and 15,000 years ago. So we can say that most cold viruses, and there's over 200 different cold viruses, most of them could not have existed until people stopped hunting and gathering and started farming.
Oh, that's so interesting. So I've always been told some various things on how to avoid a cold. For example, making sure you're dressed warmly when you go outside. Is that myth or is that truth?
That's something I delved into in some detail in this book. I think I have to say something about what a cold actually is, because a cold, it's initiated by a virus infecting the upper respiratory tract, and there's a lot of different viruses that can do that. But the symptoms of a cold are, in most cases, not caused directly by the virus infection and replication. It's caused by a misdirected inflammatory response, which is a response that's very effective at shifting dust or pollen or fungal spores or all the various bits of debris off the lining of the respiratory tract. It's completely ineffective against a virus that's inside the cells of the respiratory tract. So when the inflammatory response doesn't shift the stimulus, the immune system responds by ramping up the inflammatory response, which is why we start getting the sore throat and the coughing and the sneezing and so on, which lasts for a few days until the antiviral arm of the immune response kicks in. So to come back to the question, which is, can getting cold affect that? Well, it can't affect whether or not you get infected by a virus. It's very hard to see that. However, it might affect whether or not you develop the inflammatory response after you've been infected, because you don't develop that response every time. Some people seem to be more prone to developing it than others, and it is possible that getting cold at precisely the wrong moment in the course of the infection might make you more likely to develop the symptoms. There was an experiment on that done at Cardiff University, where they work with students. And of course, student halls of residence, there's colds going around all the time. So at any given time, there will be some people who are either about to be infected or have been infected, but they haven't developed the symptoms yet. So the researchers got some of the students to sit there with their feet in a bucket of cold water for 10 minutes, and then other students to sit there with their feet in an empty bucket for 10 minutes. So everything else was exactly the same. And they found that among the students who sat there with their feet in a bucket of cold water, they were more likely to go on to develop a cold. Now, again, that can't have made them more likely to be infected with a virus. It may have affected how they responded to the virus. That's only one experiment, but it's at least possible that getting cold and wet could make you more likely to get a cold if it happens at the wrong moment in the course of the infection.
Or at least have that response.
Yes.
Were there any other myths that you discovered surrounding the common cold that you came across?
Well, there's a lot of myths, mostly to do with remedies that may or may not work against the cold. Actually, I think the longest chapter is the one on remedies. And of course, realise that there are some of the stuff that they'll sell you over the counter in the pharmacy that works, but there's a lot more that doesn't actually do anything. Well, I think my favourite myth that I came up with was the two-hat method.
Yeah, and there's a little epilogue here. It says, what can do better than the two-hat remedy? And I just have to ask you about that.
In essence, it says, if you get a cold, the way to treat it is to hang your hat on your bedpost, go to bed, and then hit the bottle until you can see two hats. I've seen several different versions of this. Christopher Andrews, who was the co-discoverer of the influenza virus, said he heard it from somebody when he was visiting Hungary. His protege, David Tyrrell, said he found it in an 18th century English book of domestic medicine, And I have to say, I've looked in that book. I cannot find it in that book.
Interesting. Yeah.
There's also a version that comes out of stories from France around the 1918 influenza epidemic, where somebody came up with this. So it is this myth that seems to be attributed to all sorts of different sources.
And I've never heard of it before.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, the fact that it involves a hat and a bedpost tells you it's been around for quite a long time, but nobody really seems to know where it came from. It just comes up constantly.
And will it actually help you recover from a cold more quickly?
Not in the slightest.
Do you discuss homeopathy and other remedies like that?
No, there was just so much on the remedies. I had to stick to the stuff there was solid evidence behind. So there's a lot of stuff I just haven't mentioned, which includes homeopathy.
And were there things that were supposed to help decrease the length of time you have a cold that is sold as a remedy that actually doesn't work?
Well, yes, most of the herbal remedies like echinacea and ginseng and so on, they have been investigated. They don't do anything. And I mean, I think there are things that do work to some extent. But
do you remember what they are?
Yes, they're the fairly boring things. The things that reduce the duration and the severity of a cold don't do it by much. One of them is zinc lozenges. Another one, there is some evidence behind carrageen and nasal spray, but these are not miracle cures. I should say that the effects are really only discernible if you compare a treatment group and a control group. I'm not sure that you notice a lot of difference. I mean, if you start taking them, you'll still have a cold. The most effective approach, what I ended up landing on was the most effective approach is suppressing the symptoms, because if the cold is the misdirected inflammatory response, well, there are ways of suppressing that with painkillers and decongestants, which do work. They won't reduce the duration of the cold, but they'll make you less miserable while you've got it.
And that's important. What about antihistamines?
Antihistamines don't work particularly well against colds. There are decongestants that do work against colds. The standout performer was actually a nasal spray called xylometazoline. Generally, nasal sprays work better than tablets just because you're delivering the drug to right where it's needed rather than having to process it through your whole body. And I mean, one of the best pieces of advice I got actually was from Ron Eccles, who is the same person who got students to sit with their feet in buckets of cold water, but also did a lot of the testing on the over-the-counter cold remedies. And I mean, his view was that taking a squirt of a nasal spray, a nasal decongestant before you go to bed is a good idea, because then at least you can get a decent night's sleep. Right. Because one of the ways in which a cold makes you feel awful is it just stops you sleeping properly, and then you feel awful the next day.
Yeah. So you can feel better with some proactive things. Was there anything really unusual besides the two-hat method that you came across?
Well, there was quite a lot. I suppose if I had to pick one example, it was when Calvin Coolidge was President of the United States in the 1920s. He had a cold that he got really annoyed with, so he had himself shut in a gas chamber and gassed with chlorine to clear it out.
Oh my, I can't believe that. He didn't die.
No, he insisted that it cured his cold, which is extremely unlikely. I think it's more likely that if you're the president, you can't really do something like that and admit that it didn't. But this did lead to the marketing of what they called the chlorine killer cold bomb, guaranteed to cure colds instantly. And I feel I should add the code, which is please don't breathe chlorine to cure a cold. It will not work, and it might well do you some significant harm. This is the same stuff they used as a chemical weapon during the First World War.
Oh my goodness, that's absolutely insane. One of the things that I really liked about your first book was that there were lots of stories, so that if you enjoy reading stories, you're learning, but at the same time getting wrapped up in the flow of a narrative. Did you use that same method with this new book?
Yes, I did. I find that the easiest way to give it a narrative thread is to go into the history. And of course, the history is full of stories like Calvin Coolidge gassing himself, yes, which I think are fascinating.
Well, thank you so much, David. Is there anything else you would like to add before we finish here?
I can think of a lot of things I'd like to say, but we should probably leave it there because I could talk all day about this.
Well, it's a fascinating subject. And if you can tell people where they can get your book, is it available in lots of different countries, etc.? Because I know there were issues with your last book. How's that going?
It's available everywhere except the USA and Canada at the moment. From any online bookseller will be able to sell you a hard copy. Amazon will be able to sell you an electronic or an audio copy. It will not not be released in the USA and Canada until the 28th of April, at which point all of that will apply in the USA and Canada.
That's exciting, and I am so privileged to actually have a copy in my hand right now that I get to take home with me. So thank you so much, David. Where can people find you and your work? Because I know you are doing some Skeptics in the Pub coming up.
Yeah, the easiest way is if you go to my website at www.variolator.com. That has links to all of my upcoming events, everything, all the media, because several of the events have been recorded and placed online, and also my social media accounts through that.
Excellent. And we'll put all of that information in the show notes so you can find David more easily. And also, you appeared in one of Coleman Watts's videos, which was great fun. Was that Del Bigtree?
Yes, and I think you were there as Dr. Evil's school teacher, weren't you?
I was. Promoting your book, though, so not that evil.
I think you were trying to persuade Dr. Evil to be less evil, weren't you?
I think so. Yeah, it was great fun. And so it was so nice to get together with you here in this beautiful London day. It's sunny out. And thank you so much for making the time to come and find us and hang out with us for an afternoon.
Well, thank you. Thank you for doing this.
This is Adrienne Hill signing off from St. Dunstan, London, England.
G'day, Dr. Carl here, letting you know that I will be appearing at Noticon 2026 from July 23rd to the 25th at the Sydney Masonic Centre. What is a Noticon? Well, it's not a convention, but it sort of-ish, kinda. It's an interactive festival of ideas and games and audience participation by the Australian Skeptics and the whole crew from the Skeptics Guide to the Universe, which is the #1 skeptical podcast from the USA. The tickets are selling fast, with some types having already sold out. So jump onto noticon.com or skeptics.com.au to find out more and book your place while you still can. Bring your brain, bring your mates, and I'll see you there. Peace, love, mung beans. Bye.
Just this past Thursday was time once again for Sydney Skeptics in the Pub. Held on the first Thursday of every month, downtown Sydney, at the Occidental Hotel, just near Wynyard Station. Skeptics in the Pub has been going for something like 25 years, hard to believe, and we try to have an interesting speaker each month. Sadly, however, this time it was me. Well, I tried to be interesting. I was there to speak about my experiences over the last quarter of a century of the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival, or Mind, Body, Wallet, of course. And I think the talk went very well. Part of the fun of going to Skeptics in the Pub is catching up with old friends and skeptics and just having a good chat, a good talk around the table and a nice meal. I'm at Skeptics in the Pub with Tim Mendham. Hello, Tim.
Oh, hi, Richard.
Hi, Richard. Hi, Tim.
Hi there.
Hi, Tim.
Fancy seeing you here.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either, actually.
And across the table sits committee members Lara Benham, and a big announcement, of course, is Annie McCubbin, our new committee member. Hello, Annie. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be now part of the Skeptics Committee. I feel very honoured.
How's your podcast going, by the way?
My podcast is going very well. It's going very well in Sydney and Melbourne, and extremely well in Canada and a couple of states in America.
Only a couple, eh? Well, now you two are looking at an interesting little thing here. What's this, Lara?
This is a little glass bottle with a spray on the top of it that it says on it is a psychic shield, energy spray, and black tourmaline. Is tourmaline probably... That's... Yeah, which I think is what's inside it. If you shake the bottle, you can hear it rattling, and I assume that's black tourmaline.
What does this do, this substance?
I mean, it's very difficult to tell. So it says it's a protective blend to deflect and shield your energy field from outside forces.
And can I add to that?
Maybe like on Star Wars.
Yeah, can I add to that? But I am an empath,
Yes.
self-proclaimed empath, and it's very, very important for me because I need extra reinforcement. So because it keeps negativity at bay while promoting clarity, balance, and a grounded presence.
What do you need reinforcing?
I need my Lara. I need my energy shield reinforced because I'm an empath.
Makes perfect sense.
She's a target, absolute target. All the forces are going. She's a very sensitive empath.
Very sensitive. I had all my empathic ability surgically removed, I'm afraid.
May I read you the direction?
Oh, please.
It's brief. Close eyes and spray over self as you envision a protective bubble around your auric field.
And just as she said that, the food has arrived. It works.
Can I just say that by spraying that all over myself, I created and envisaged and manifested my meal.
Stop you from eating because you won't be able to get through the shield.
So, as soon as she started saying that, a big chicken burger and really large chips or fries appeared on the table. So I think there's something to this, actually. But anyway, yeah, somebody brought this in tonight. Psychic Shield, it's a big spray bottle. Energy spray, 100 milliliters from www.thespiritualtoolbox.com.
My favourite place to go.
Actually, Tim, it's a big day. The Artemis launched.
The Artemis launch, yes. Very exciting, wasn't it, actually, yes.
Only about 5, 6, depending on what time it is now, or 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever it is, hours ago.
Yeah, they must be there by now.
They must be there by now.
Yeah, I know. It was very exciting, actually, to watch. It was 50 years since the last moon trip. 54 years.
Something like that. Somebody posted, it's so exciting to see a moonshot, and I had to say, yeah, I've seen it before.
So have I, yeah. I saw the first one, yes. Yeah, no, it was very exciting. I remember watching it, staying home from school to watch the moonwalk, the first one, because, they presumed moonwalk, of course.
Well, the science crowd, our crowd, are having a great time at the moment because we're just waiting for all the drivel coming from the space desires, the drivel coming from the space deniers. People say it's impossible to leave low Earth orbit and they can't do it, the Van Allen belt, blah, 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 blah.
The lunatics.
The lunatics. Oh, I like that. I'm going to copyright that. That's good, Tim.
I already own it. It's fine, actually. Yeah. No, it was very exciting, actually. I was a bit disappointed in the TV coverage because someone they showed, when they're just about to take off, they show the engine blasting away. That was very... And then suddenly, blip, 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 camera switching, and then they showed the takeoff, but it had already taken off.
Yeah. It went black for a few seconds.
And then when they got up, they were just about to lose the boosters, or the big rockets, and they cut to pictures of people sitting there watching. And then they cut back and the boosters had already dropped off.
There's a famous story, I don't know if it's true, I hope it's true, of the family gathered around the radio in 1969. And it was, they're listening to the coverage of Neil Armstrong, and he's just on the ladder, and the announcer says, this is the most historic moment, we can't believe it. Okay, here we go. And they're ready to race at the Warwick Farm, and they're racing.
Yeah, I'm sure they do that, actually. Yeah.
Thank you, Tim. Sydney Skeptics in the Pub. We get people here from all over the world. And here's somebody from all over the world. Hello.
Hello.
Who am I speaking to now?
My name's Gary.
Gary, and you're from not all over the world, but you've come here from Thailand.
I have, yes. I came all the way from Thailand just to come to the Skeptics in the Pub. Not really, no.
But here you are. And you're mentioning to me that you're having a think and maybe considering doing something like a little meet-up in your part of Thailand for skepticism.
I'd absolutely love to do that. Yeah, I'd love to have just a bit of an informal gathering of like-minded skeptics to sit down and have a couple of beers and some of that lovely yummy Thai food and have a bit of a chat about stuff of interest to skeptics and all that. Yeah, that'd be a great thing to do.
And which part of Thailand are you in?
In Chiang Mai, which is it's the second major city in Thailand, and it's in northern Thailand.
And we were just having a chat before, and you're telling me that there's quite a sizable expat community there.
Yeah, it's quite a popular place with expats, yes. Lots of tourists as well, of course. There's a lot of international schools there. There's lots of teachers around, foreign teachers. There's about, off the top of my head, I think there's about at least 5 universities there. So there's a lot of education, a lot of potentially sceptical people around there too.
Sounds like it. And I think an informal meet-up every now and then, based around skepticism and a good night out, would sound pretty good.
It'd be awesome, yeah.
Let me know how it goes in the future, and maybe we can help you out.
I'll do that. Yes. So just to anyone into skepticism, if you're a listener to The Zone or SGU or similar podcasts like that, if that's your thing, maybe keep an eye out in the upcoming weeks. I'll put something up on meetup.com. Do a search, Chiang Mai Skeptics. You'll probably find it. I don't think it'll be too hard to find. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that, and when that happens, I'll let the Zone listeners know, and we can have a look.
That'd be awesome, Richard. Thank you so much.
Now, before I started my talk, I was delighted to award Kate Thomas a certificate. Now, of course, we're going to be talking about mind, body, spirit, and I happen to have with me a purple mind, body, spirit bag. Ooh. And this has got something very special and unexpected in it. Kate, could you stand up for a second, please? For those of you who don't know, this is Kate Thomas. Kate Thomas has started a podcast some months ago called On the Moans, and it is going gangbusters. It helps women all around the planet, and she has excelled in her learning and capacity to produce podcasts. So, Kate, would you like to open the bag?
I have a very good teacher.
Oh.
Very good tech support.
And she has earned a podcasting certificate. Well done, Kate.
Thank you.
There you go.
Does she get to keep the bag?
Yes, she keeps the bag. That's from the Saunders Podcasting Academy.
Yes, it is.
Congratulations, Kate. No, really, if you like podcasts, her podcast On the Moans, that's what you look for. It's terrific. Her production values have skyrocketed, and she's got some good kit right now.
I have a wonderful kit.
All right, we're going to be talking about Adventures at Mind, Body, Spirit, the festival every 6 months. It travels the country, but it's here in Sydney. Sydney Skeptics in the Pub, the first Thursday of every month at the Occidental Hotel at Wynyard, downtown Sydney. And you can find more by joining the meetup group with a link in this week's show notes.
It can't just be me, but something serious is happening to my body. On the Moans is a new podcast from me, Kate Thomas, a pharmacist of 25 years and a newly minted perimenopausal oversharer. I pull back the curtains on perimenopause, hormones, rage-quitting jobs, disappearing libido, bone health, and the quiet suffering so many women carry alone. From estrogen quitting her full-time job with no notice and taking all of the neurotransmitters with her, to a friend breaking down in the kitchen whispering, "I thought it was just me." On the Moans is honest, evidence-based, funny, messy, and deeply human. And it's not just for women. Loads of men are wondering why their partner has gone from being reasonably well put together to now crying because she can't remember why she entered a room. We are not broken. It's not our fault. And we're definitely not alone in this. Join me for On the Moans, available now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or via the link on the Skeptic Zone homepage.
time once again to go back to those archives, no matter where they are, normally at Trove, at trove.nla.gov.au. Today, we're going to be looking at Google newspapers for some perspective from the United States. And what are we perspecting? What are we looking at? And I mean looking. We're looking at the classic quackery of iridology. Ah, yes, iridology, a case where the eyes don't have it. Now, we covered this some years ago on the Skeptic Zone from an Australian point of view, but I thought we'd look further afield, and this has been prompted by my recent talk at Skeptics in the Pub, where I spoke about the Mind, Body, Spirit, Mind, Body, Wallet Festival. And of course, when you go there, you can line up and have your iridologed, your iridology-dologed, your eyes dologed. Now, I happened to do this, possibly roughly 25 years ago when I went to Mind, Body, Wallet, and I paid my $30, a princely sum in those days, to have somebody look into my eye and give me a report. And all these years later, because I have the report on file, and times are changing, of course, and I can take advantage of artificial intelligence, so I uploaded the report, the 2-page report, to AI. Happened to be Claude, the flavour of the month at the moment, until the next one comes along. And this is what it said. These appear to be reference charts from Gary Watson, described as a naturopath, live blood analyst, and iridologist based in Mitchelton, Queensland. What these charts are: they're clinical recommendation sheets that map symptoms/conditions to treatments across columns: mild/medium severity, vitamins, teas and herbs, foods and advice, and clinic vitamin range, branded products he sells. And then it says, my honest assessment. The concerning parts. Point. Live blood analysis and iridology are both considered pseudosciences. Iridology, reading the iris to diagnose body conditions, has been repeatedly tested and failed, and live blood analysis is not a recognized diagnostic method in evidence-based medicine. Point. The branded Clinic Vit range column suggests a financial interest in the recommendations. Patients are being directed towards product the practitioner sells. And this is a classic case from many naturopaths, of course. And famously, if you go to TikTok or one of those outlets and you see a naturopath giving you advice or telling you stuff, behind them invariably are rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of bottles. And of course, they are happy to sell you those bottles. Point. Some advice is potentially harmful. Example, no TV or arguments while eating for high acid levels, or dietary restrictions that could delay proper medical diagnosis. Point. Conditions like heart weakness, hardening of the arteries, and anemia are being addressed with supplements rather than directing patients to a GP or cardiologist. What's relatively harmless? Some general lifestyle advice, exercise, reduce stress, eat more vegetables, is reasonable, if unremarkable. Bottom line. This looks like the kind of material that would be right at home on the Skeptic Zone. A practitioner mixing some sensible lifestyle advice with unvalidated diagnostic methods and supplement sales. It's the classic naturopathy business model. Were you thinking about covering this on the show, or is there a specific claim you wanted to dig into? Well, thank you, Claude. I think that covers enough. But let's now head to some newspapers from the United States. And helping me this week is our reporter from Canada, Kat McLeod, and you'll understand why when you hear her. And our first newspaper comes from Alabama. It's called the Times Daily. And this report comes to us from the 19th of March, 1984. 1984. So, in the order of 42 years ago. And this is under the broad heading of Science/Technology from the Associated Press. Specialist says eyes mirror one's health. Centre. And that's Sentre, I guess that's the name of a place. To iridologists like Judy James, the eyes are not only the windows of one's soul, but also the mirrors of one's health. Mrs. James reads, and that's in quotation marks, the iris of the eye with a tiny light and a magnifying glass for signs of past, present, and potential health problems. She believes, as do many of the people who have paid the $10 price to have her read their eyes, that iridology can reveal everything from a broken foot to sinus congestion.
It's just one of nature's way of telling you about your health.
She said,
It's nature's gift to us analyzing human ailments.
According to the theory of iridology, irregularities in the iris, such as cloudiness, lines, spots, rings, and discoloration, indicate health problems. For instance, a white ring around the outside of the eye is called a sodium ring, which Mrs. James said is a sign of chemical imbalance in the body and could signal cholesterol problems, as well as usually being a sign of beginning arthritis. And Mrs. James said there are only two colours of eyes, brown and blue. Eyes that appear to be hazel or green are discoloured because of cloudiness or some other problem. I wonder what a geneticist would have to say about that. The location of the irregularity on the iris shows where the problem is in relation to the body. A chart developed by a California chiropractor, Dr. Bernard Jensen, is used by iridologists to help determine where in the body the ailment is located. To medical doctors, like Dr. Johnny Reeves, an ophthalmologist, the idea of iridology falls in the same range as palm reading. Reeves said that unless people go to an iridologist purely out of curiosity or as entertainment, they are putting themselves in jeopardy. Mrs. James is aware that most doctors share Reeves' attitude about iridology.
It's unorthodox to him, Reeves, because there's no laboratory proof.
She said,
But there are a lot of ophthalmologists and chiropractors learning about this now.
The person who taught her iridology, Susie Burke of Fort Worth, Texas,
has had I don't know how many doctors in her classes.
She said, iridology was developed in the early 1800s by Hungarian physician Dr. Ignaz von Petzky. Now, I don't know if that's exactly how it sounds in Hungarian, but who marvelled that a dark line in an owl's eye seemed to disappear as the owl's broken leg healed. Today, iridology is usually coupled with herbs for an holistic approach to health, one of treating the body rather than the symptoms. Of course, that's just nonsense. It's what naturopaths say to sound like they're superior. Mrs. James said that people
have to heal from the head down, from the inside out, from the reverse order of how disease occurred.
Many of the people who go to iridologists are, like doctors, skeptical of the practice and go out of curiosity. A Weaver woman who asked not to be identified because of possible disapproval from her church and community described herself as, quote, very skeptical, end quote, when she went to see Mrs. James recently.
But she picked up on things that she had no way of knowing other than through my eyes.
She said,
I had a bad back for many years, and she picked up on that. I've had a lot of trouble with my sinus, and she knew that.
The only thing that the woman did not know to be true was a kidney problem that Mrs. James told her she'd had.
To me, it was the next thing to fortune-telling before I went, but now I'm not sure what to think.
She said she would recommend other people going to see Mrs. James, but
I wouldn't recommend anyone giving up their doctor.
Mrs. James agreed that no one should quit seeing a doctor. and she emphasized that she does not diagnose disease.
Iridology does not name diseases. It shows the location of the inflammation, the stage, and how it was caused,
she said. And as I often say, that was a long time ago. And since this article was printed, Iridology and iridologists have had 42 years to bring us the evidence that their modality works. And that evidence is still very much lacking. And finally, we'll turn to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, dated the 15th of September, 1998. So this was 28 years ago. And this is a story by Alice Demetrius Stock. What the iris indicates. Iridology sees your health in your eyes. And this is under the broad heading of natural health. Tracy Hoffman holds her camera 2 inches from her client's eye and snaps 6 images of first one iris, then the other. Hoffman, 34, of Beaver Falls, is a certified iridologist, or as they have it here in the story, spelt out or written out so you can pronounce it, iridologist. Iridologist. Although I've always used the pronunciation iridologist, so we'll stick with that. Who claims the iris, the coloured part of the eye surrounding the pupil,
is a window into the body.
By studying the photos, she says, she is able to access exactly where in her client's body health problems may be lurking. Literature from Hoffman states,
the iris of the eye reveals bodily conditions, inherent weaknesses, inflammation, levels of health, and transition that take place in a person's body according to the way he or she lives.
While mainstream physicians routinely make diagnoses by looking at the eye even without using an ophthalmoscope, allowing examination of the retina or interior of the eyeball, iridologists, many of whom are complementary therapists such as herbalists, acupuncturists, nutritionists or aromatherapists, take eye examinations one step further. They believe each organ or system is represented by its own zone, maybe like the Skeptic Zone, in the iris, a kind of map or blueprint the iridologist reads. The mainstream medical community, however, sees serious limitations in iridology and is generally skeptical of its inclusive findings. Misha Pless, neuro-ophthalmologist at Eye and Ear Institute, UPMC, said ancient peoples studied the eye for thousands of years. By the turn of the 19th century, 2 schools of thought had emerged. The medical school believed the iris had a biological meaning, and the alternative school began to ascribe meaning to the iris that the medical community couldn't accept. Pless said, to say the eye has a blueprint or map of everything in the body, I believe not to be true, he said. So I can't accept any claim that constitutional conditions or illnesses or sources of infection can be diagnosed just by looking at the iris. Hoffman and other iridologists stress, however, that what they do is not a diagnosis.
If someone is looking for a disease name, no, I'm not going to tell them that.
Hoffman said,
if you think you may have a disease, consult the appropriate physician promptly. But if someone is always fatigued but doesn't know why, or if they're not absorbing nutritionally, I can help them learn to heal themselves. I can tell them how to get a weak muscular system strong, or, as a certified herbalist, I can recommend the right vitamins or minerals.
Hoffman said she became interested in iridology when she had it done.
Dr. David J. Pesek read my eyes and told me personal things about my physical and mental health and where I had weaknesses.
Hoffman earned certification in iridology working with Pesek, who holds a doctorate in psychology and in iridology, and is a founding director of the Center for Effective Living in Waynesville, North Carolina. The International Institute of Iridology is the educational arm of his business. Is that like Maynard's International Studios, I wonder? The reason I created a certificate program, Pesek said, was to correct the misuse of the science and practice of iridology. Some people without adequate training sometimes go too far. Pot, kettle, black. Pesek said going too far would be claiming to be able to diagnose cancer. Rather than labeling a disease, Pesek said, since the eyes reveal the genetic tendency of an individual, well-trained iridologists look for developing conditions that may lead to, say, a pancreatic or bowel disease 20 years down the road. Unbelievable. Pesek said most medical doctors are not trained in this aspect and therefore don't understand iridology completely. He also disapproves of some herbal companies that put their salespeople through a, quote, cursory course in iridology, end quote. It hurts our validity when iridologists are not trained properly or qualified, Pesek said. Pesek said prospective clients should look for certified iridologists. To become certified, students at his institute must complete 96 hours of coursework and take written, oral, and practical examinations. The first 2 levels may be done as correspondence courses, but the third or final exam must be done on site, Pesek said. Students must demonstrate their competency with me personally. Hoffman said iridology is a tool she uses
as a holistic alternative to access someone's level of health quickly. No harm is done to the eyes by the camera. It's a non-invasive way of looking into the body since the optic nerve is attached to the entire nervous system.
Pless agrees that the iris is an organ affected by the nervous system and that specific diseases such as glaucoma and diabetes can be diagnosed in the eye. But he stressed the limitations of some of the claims iridologists make. I don't believe the iris has a map representing the entire body. He said, I think that's where iridologists have extrapolated too much. According to Tracy Hoffman, this is what iridology can and cannot do. Iridology can reveal where inflammation is located in the body, under activity or sluggishness of the bowel, including spastic or ballooned conditions. Sounds comfortable. Prolapse of the transverse colon, what organ is in greatest need of repair and rebuilding, inherently weak organs, glands and tissues, constitutional strength or weakness, lymphatic system congestion, hyperactivity or hypoactivity of organs, glands or tissues, build-up of toxic material before the manifestation of disease, healing signs indicating an increase of strength in a gland, organ or tissue, sources of infection, whether a particular program or therapy is working, the overall health level of the body as a unified structure, high-risk tissue areas in the body that may be leading to a disease, the primary nutritional needs of the body, poor assimilation of nutrients. Iridology cannot identify what medication or drugs an individual is using or has had, determine what operations a person has had, identify disease by name, tell what foods a person eats, determine the number of organs when a person has been born with 3 kidneys, a double uterus, etc. Why not? I mean, iridology claims all sorts of things like you can tell when a leg is being healed, a broken leg. Determine whether a woman is pregnant. Show whether gallstones or kidney stones are present. Identify sexuality or AIDS. And we remember this is some decades ago when this was written. Tell whether a person is male or female. indicate whether an operation may be necessary, correlate tissue inflammation levels with a specific disease or symptoms of disease. For more information, the International Institute of Iridology, 375 Paradise Lane, Waynesville, North Carolina, 28786, I think it says. And it gives a phone number and so on, which after all these years I don't think it's necessary to mention. Now, wouldn't it be interesting to give that list to an iridologist without the caveats here of what iridology can reveal and what it can't do? In fact, it might be worth doing that at some stage. And you would probably get wild disagreement of some iridologists saying it definitely can do this or definitely can't do this, and I don't think any two would agree. Why? Well, because iridology is pseudoscience and doesn't work. It's just made up. Well, there we are. What an interesting little trip through the archives, looking into the eye, once again, to the wondrous quackery of iridology. It's an ever-popular modality because it gives the illusion of being a diagnostic tool, and people love to pretend they are medical professionals. And thank you to Kat McLeod for supplying some of the voices in this week's segment. But you too can find out about iridology and quackery and all sorts of crazy things when you go to Trove at trove.nla.gov.au, or the reference of your choice. Today we used Google Newspapers because when you do that, when you go there, you never know what you might find. Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone. Now, you might remember I said on last week's episode that on today's episode we'd talk about wishes with Kat McLeod. With her story, she's done a report about the history of wishing. We've had to hold that over until next week. And it's my wish you'll download the next episode and enjoy that story. Thank you to all those people who contribute to the Skeptic Zone via PayPal or Patreon. Head to skepticzone.tv. And there is a link at the top of the page, I think, and under the show notes. But for this week, this is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Please visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for episodes and show notes with links going back to 2008. You can follow the Skeptic Zone on Facebook, X, TikTok and YouTube by clicking the links at our homepage, together with links to support the show financially via Patreon or PayPal. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed by our guests are not necessarily those of the Skeptic Zone podcast or any other skeptical organisation.
Oh, that dog. Look at those paws. I'm here dog sitting with the Secretary of Australian Skeptics, Lara Benham. Hello, Lara.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're dog sitting. What a lovely dog. Hello. Hello. A happy dog. Yes, this dog's all over me. And on the line we have... Oh, good grief, this dog is... Okay, the dog is now resting on me.
Oh my gosh, he's adorable.
On the line we have...
He's sitting on you. He's Richard sitting.
Yes, I think you're right. It's Susan Gerbeck. Hello, Susan.
Hi, everybody.
Now we're... Oh, sorry. This dog is half the size of me and it's only a puppy. We're going to play the dice game, the international puppy... Oh, no! Oh. This dog is... Sorry, the dog doesn't know she's still a puppy. She thinks she's a puppy, but she's a big dog for a puppy. Anyway, She's part German Shepherd, but she's a lovely dog. Very happy.
What a wild life you lead there, Richard. It's just, you never know. Your life is just so exciting.
Apparently. Now the dog's got its paws on me. All right. So, this is all true. This is not we're not making this up. Susan.
I can't see a thing. The camera has moved. All I can see is the ceiling.
Oh, hang on. Wait a minute. There.
Oh, there it is. Oh, there's a puppy. You want to go for walkies?
We went for big walkies.
Big walk.
A couple of hours.
So, we're going to play the dice game eventually. Susan, I understand you have a dice with you.
I have one die.
Yeah.
It is a Squaring the Strange die.
Ooh.
So it's a 6-sided die, and it has Squaring the Strange on one side, a little picture of Celestia and Ben, and I think there's a little ghost there, and that's in place of the number 1.
All right.
So there's 6 numbers on there, so the odds of getting something are 1 in 6.
Sounds good to me. I'm going to choose 4. What will you choose, Lara?
2.
2. I don't know what the dog will choose.
What is the puppy going to choose?
Puppy will choose 1.
Okay, I'm going to go for 5.
Oh, that's a surprise.
I know. I'm telling you. Okay, ready? Yep. Here we go.
I predict
6.
Oh.
None of us.
Nobody got it. Not even the puppy.
No. All right. This time the puppy will predict 2. I will predict 4.
I'm going to go with 4 as well.
Okay, I'm going to go with 5. Here we go.
Okay.
It is 6.
Oh,
what?
Gosh.
6 and 6?
Well, I don't know if this is might be slightly weighted a certain way or something. I don't know. Maybe. No, it rolls other numbers. Okay.
All right. Okay, well, this time I'm going to say 6.
I'm going to go 6.
I'm going to go 5. Yeah. What do you think the puppy's going to do?
Going to go 6.
6.
Okay. Oh, fell into my lap. Hold on. 2.
This is ridiculous.
None for 4. 3.
3. Okay, one more. The puppy will
supplemental.
say... The supplemental. Puppy will say 1. I will say 2.
3.
5.
5.
2.
That was you, wasn't it?
Yes.
Puppy.
Oh, puppy.
You got a number right. Somebody got a number right.
Somebody got it right.
Somebody got it right.
I'm sorry it took that long to get a single number right.
I mean, statistically, at some point, somebody had to get something
had to get
right.
some right.
Yeah.
Thank you, puppy. Thank you, Lara. Thank you, Susan.
Yeah, I know. This life that we lead is just, wow. Wow.
The puppy's sound asleep on the floor now.
Yeah, puppy's asleep. All right, well, it's great to see you guys and the puppy.
Thanks, Susan.
All right.
Bye.
Stay strong. Bye.